I'm phobic about the fire ants. It's another Wilderness Wednesday. Welcome back to Valiant Outfitters and our YouTube channel. I've set up, as promised, a Plowpoint shelter using that same tarp I did before. I've done it by running my ridgeline just as I normally would, but you'll notice that this ridgeline is quite a bit higher. I run this up at about waist high, and this time I've used my overhand loop, or what I call the overhand end loop here. The reason I did that instead of the Evink hitch is the Evink hitch uses quite a bit more cordage than does this knot. So I did it that way this time because I only have 18 feet of cordage here, and I'm not sure exactly how far that is, but I almost couldn't reach from tree to tree. But I chose this spot, and I wanted to use this spot because it fit well with all of the W's. I don't see any widowmakers. I look pretty safe. There's a tree right there that's leaning quite a bit, but it's leaning that way. I do have water in a stream back down this way, but I'm also somewhat elevated, so I don't need to worry about flooding water. I don't see any wildlife trails coming through here, and I've already checked for any wigglies, anything that might get down in the bottom there and cause me trouble overnight. Particularly here in Florida, I'm phobic about the fire ants. And then finally with the wind, this is one of the things that the Plowpoint is excellent for, is protection from the wind. So we're going to assume that the wind is coming from this direction. It's coming that way. Well, you can see by the way the Plowpoint is set up that I have a point here on the ridgeline, and then I run down in kind of a diamond shape. Now this tarp isn't a square, so it's not a true Plowpoint. This is a rectangle, but it still works very well for our application here. Well, hello there, Mr. Osprey. I guess there is some wildlife that I didn't check for, but he seems friendly enough. Again, if the wind is coming from this direction, then I'm protected really well here. In fact, let me crawl into this, and I'm going to show you how much room I have in a Plowpoint shelter. I can get in here, and it actually is pretty comfortable. And it's nice and long. I have this reflective surface on the inside, so if I put my fire out here, I'm nice and protected. And because it's a rectangle, actually the wind, if it's coming this way, I'm protected here as well. So let's say that the wind started from this way, but overnight it starts to come in this way. Well, I can take my 3 stakes, lift those up, and just pivot. And I can put it more into that area and protect myself from the wind coming from there. Here in Florida, I might want to flip this over to protect myself from the sun. So in this case, the sun is coming this way, and if I want to protect myself from the sun, I would take it, flip it over, and pivot it all the way around so that reflective surface is reflecting the sun off. I'm going to take you for a quick tour of this, and then I'm going to bring you over and show you how to construct this shelter. So here's a quick tour before I deconstruct and then reconstruct it to show it to you. I started, of course, with that overhand loop and ran my ridgeline at about waist height over to the taut line hitch where I tightened it up. And I started with a pretty loose ridgeline, and you can see where I took that stake or a toggle and I put a bite up through that grommet, and then down to where I staked out on the one corner, came back to the back corner, and over to the other corner. Now it's this run right here from the ridgeline back that you want to run first, and then do your corners. So I've deconstructed the shelter. I'm going to take my tarp, the Bear Hard tarp that I keep in my 72-hour bag, which is also part of my everyday bag. I've loosened my ridgeline here at the taut line hitch over back here, and I'm going to take a bite, and I'm going to put that through one of the corner grommets. I'm using a tent stake, but of course you could just create a toggle out of a branch you find on the ground. And I'll tighten that taut line hitch. Get my ridge line nice and tight. Now it's going to tighten a little bit more as I tighten the tarp. And I want to come to the opposing corner, so I'm going diagonally, so I'm going point to point. on my Plowpoint tarp. Now I have a little bit of paracord that I've tied down on here, and I can use that. And I'm going to want to come pretty tight, pull on one of the other corners, pull that out, get that down in, come to the other corner opposing, and you don't have to use the paracord, but I have the paracord on here. You could go straight to the grommets, and I'm going to push that in. There, that looks a little better. The Plowpoint, excellent for protecting from the wind coming this direction. There you have it. One of the 3 shelters that we teach for beginning survival at Valiant Outfitters. If you'd like more information about Valiant Outfitters, go to valiantoutfitters.com and get out this weekend. It's going to be nice weather. In fact, it's going to cool off here in Florida a little bit, but wherever you are, get outside because it's impossible to be in the woods and stay in a bad mood. We see you for another Wilderness Wednesday.